Can't afford to move out during COVID? Well, don't. Hi, I'm Andrew Chase, and I have a master's in spiritual psychology, and I've written a book on conscious uncoupling for parents. I've just created a video series for fathers that are looking to create or build on a better relationship with their former wife for the benefit of their child or children. This is episode 8 of that series. Divorce is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Living together apart.
Regardless of what you think of the French, they just do some things better than us Americans. And living together apart is one of them. Qu'est-ce que c'est, you say? In short, this is when divorce makes it too expensive to move out. I read an article from the French newspaper Le Monde a few years after I got divorced, where as a consequence of the bad economy and high real estate prices in France, more and more couples continued to share the same home, even after they got divorced. And this has become even more of a reality since COVID-19 hit, as you are all aware, and an additional side effect of it is people either losing their jobs or being forced to work from home. Many faulty relationships were only surviving because of the ability of one or both spouses to escape each other daily or weekly by going into an office or out on the road. Because of this, more couples than ever are being forced to reevaluate their relationships. From the spiritual perspective, COVID-19 is the universe's way of taking out the distractions and distance buffers that have kept people staying in marriages that emotionally ended years ago. However, for living together apart, both parties have to be on the same page and understand that they are doing it for the benefit of their children and can actually start their lives as newly divorced loving co-parents without having to change their addresses and add extra stresses to an already incredibly heavy situation. My former wife and I decided to divorce in late 2008 during the worst financial meltdown in our country's history. We put our house on the market in early 2009, having no idea if we would ever be able to sell it, and we couldn't afford to let it go without a decent-sized profit, which would allow us both to have enough money to move into separate residences. So we continued to live together for a few months until we found a serious buyer, and during that time my soon-to-be former wife started lightly dating, and I went on a 2-week trip to Europe with her 19-year-old stepbrother that wanted to look at colleges out there. This allowed us to stay under the same roof while starting the transition to our own grown-up singles lives while still being together for our 3 children. They were 3, 5, and 8 at the time, so on the surface they didn't really see that much of a difference in their daily routine. Obviously, kids are very energetically sensitive and intuitive, so they knew something was up, and we did our best not to argue in front of them and to help keep the feeling of warmth, safety, and security alive for them as long as possible. Don't get me wrong, this was not an easy task, and we were both just as raw as you are right now. And what we all have in common is the ability to access as much of our loving as we want, and it is like a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. And something I've spoken about in every one of my videos is faking it till you make it by putting your ego on lock, which is something that is typically very difficult for men to do. In fact, I recently joined an online men's divorce support group to this end. The first thing that I noticed was so many of these men, regardless of how far along they are in their divorce, can't see straight. Red clouds of hatred that are fogging up their eyes and brains. So if you are still watching this, then you are the type of father that is open to stepping onto the road less traveled. As I mentioned in an earlier video, the biggest outlay of money in a divorce is that which goes to the court for the lawyers. However, the second most expensive is the cost of keeping up 2 separate residences. If you and your wife can come back to a place where you can just be civil with each other, not only can you save thousands if not tens of thousands of dollars on lawyers, you can also save on moving out until it is no longer a financial burden or barrier. I dealt with the initial discomfort and sadness of knowing our relationship as husband and wife was over and the feeling of being with a roommate. Our decision to focus on the positive and sending out positive vibes to the universe, I believe, allowed us to sell our house at a nice profit to the one family that made us an offer on it. Staying in the house made it easier as well for both of us, as we were able to care for our children. We could be active in the morning and bedtime rituals, help with homework, carpooling, and most importantly, support each other with discipline. Subconsciously, having rules makes kids feel safer, even if on the surface they seem mad about it. And also, resisting the urge to give them whatever they want and or excessive freedom because you feel guilty about the divorce sets them up for long-term failure and of course to the therapist's couch. Because we made a mutual decision to divorce, that made things just a little easier. But in the case where you're the leaver and the left is dragging her feet, the assurance that nobody's going to have to move out right away may help the left agree to sign the divorce papers and keep the divorce cooperative. And this, of course, will save money too. And both of you know that there's an end point, so you can stay together and get through it. If you're going to continue sharing a home with your ex, I'd suggest you discuss agreeing to some basic ground rules or codes of behavior about dating. Even though you may not want to start dating again yourself, make sure these codes apply both ways. You may want to go with something similar to what I and my former wife did in letting each other know when we will be out with the date and not lying about where you're going and who you're seeing. Whether you tell your ex the name of anyone you're dating or give more detail or less is up to you. It is probably best to agree never to bring a date back to the home you are sharing, or only to do so if the other one and your children are away. Even after you do finally move out, I would encourage you not to bring any dates into the house. This is very confusing for children, and the more people they meet or in and out of their lives, the greater chance there is for these young souls to rekindle the divorce experience. This, of course, is practical advice, but it's not going to heal the deeper hurt that you may be experiencing. I would strongly encourage you to follow my advice from earlier videos about first untangling yourself from your former spouse, then doing work on unbuilding your foundational family blueprint and focusing on your partnership as co-parents. Stay tuned for upcoming videos on how to navigate once you or your spouse moves into a new residence and or gets a new spouse or partner that has their own children. If you agree or disagree with what I've had to say in this video, please let me know in the comments below. And if you feel like what I've said is of some value to you, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. And of course, ring that notification bell to be the first to get the next episode in the series when it drops. And if you have a friend who you feel might benefit from these videos, please share my channel with them. Virtually yours,